Hey y'all, good afternoon. It's Thursday, which is later than I wanted to post this. I don't know if you can hear my voice. I'm having like a some sort of weird fall cold and I've been sneezing and like blowing my nose like mad, so I couldn't get a video made. I tried a couple of times, but it was really hard to understand. So finally today I'm like a little bit better and I feel like I can uh, maybe give you like a decent uh, semi-lecture and sort of things to think about in regard to the print lecture that you're reading in our course. So, um, you hear all of this stuff about, or read all this stuff about, identity and the kinds of feminisms and how categories of women came to sort of function and what colonialism has looked like and the post-colonial movement and the feminist post-colonialism in particular. And so probably most of you have watched Arlene's lecture by now, which is great because we both have, you will have noticed from the last video, we come at these things from different places and we both teach this course, so there's stuff of value in both. So if you watch it, that's good. Um, just in terms of like where you live today and where you operate today and thinking about like the world that we are living in here and how we can take what you were learning in the lecture and apply it kind of or use it as a lens to look at the world around you and have it be like relevant and tangible. I want you to think about the decolonization process and the reconciliation process that Canada is talking about all of the time, and how who's talking and whose ideas are on your Facebook and are in your sort of mainstream media and on your social media. What do the politicians say, and what do they look like? Right? What is the social location, the position, and the gender and the race of the people who are talking, and whose ideas take, sort of the front and center stage, and whose voices aren't being heard, right? Who do we dismiss? Who do we not listen to? And who's really in charge of this process? So there's that. The second part of that is like, what is happening in your social world where this conversation is concerned? So this, as you move through this next week or until I post the next video, work on this section. Pay attention to your social media, to the people around you, to the conversations that you hear where this stuff is concerned. What is it that your social sort of body is saying and projecting, and how are they reacting to the conversations? Who do they privilege? Just your average everyday person, right? What are their thoughts? What do you see cropping up? Because one of the things that I think is interesting when we think about any of these things we've been talking about, we live in a world where it's unprecedented that social media has taken the kind of precedence in our lives that it has, but we have access to the inside sort of workings of all kinds of people. And people are really willing to put out there all kinds of things that they might not say in real life. And so, oh my God, I'm sorry. It's my truck is in the shop and they're trying to call me to tell me I think that it's ready. So we're gonna finish this up and whatever. Um, you get a sense of how power is organized in your social body and whose identities, this identity politics stuff, right? Where is the power concentrated by the kinds of things that you see a lot of the time in your social media? So there's those couple of things. The other thing that I really want you to think about, and that I think is pretty important in Canada, where this conversation is concerned, is this issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women, or what I prefer to call it, stolen sisters, because they're not actually missing. Someone is taking them on purpose. It's not something that is just sort of abstractly happening. In the lecture, we sort of talk about the various ways that uh, bodies are used by colonial powers and what they come to signify. And if you think about what you know about when Canada was settled, right, and how it was settled, and often the role that Indigenous women played or were used for, more sort of accurately, um, in the sort of colonization of this land, and then think about what it looks like today with this awful epidemic. There's a really interesting narrative there about how Indigenous women's identity has been given to them in the larger sort of social body, and the work that has been done to craft a new identity that is self-directed. But again, how it's playing out in the larger social body when we think about this issue in particular, and the conversations that you will hear around you when people talk about this issue. Um, I think it really, both of these examples really work to hammer home sort of why these theories are important, why it's important to grasp them, and how you can use them to sort of really have a good, solid look, critical look at the world that you're living in and the social body that you're living in, and not in terms necessarily even of global politics, although I think, obviously it extends there and you can do that also, but even just in your own lived reality, things that come across your news feed, right? Your local sort of news, your local politics, and give you a really it's tangible then. It's a tangible way to see how theories like this are operative and why it's important to have um, pushback. Why feminist post-colonialism is important. It can be maybe a useful tool. But also at the same time, talking about how the feminisms have come to be and when, all kinds of women of colors, all of the non-white women started to tell white feminists, you can't decide what it is because your social location determines, how you see the world. And so your idea of what freedom means or equality means, well, it's not mine. It's different. I don't live where you live. I don't look like you look. I don't have access to what you have access to. And so those things are still super relevant. And I think, often when we're reading theories, we get caught up in big words and big ideas. And really, when we boil them down, these are two examples that give you, that's it. That's the concrete. There it is, right there. And sometimes it can be difficult to wrestle with theory, um, some more than others. And I love theory, but I also know that sometimes if you just boil it down a little bit and you can like a case study, sort of focus in on a particular example, then all of a sudden the pieces fit together and you can see it really clearly. So I wanted you to have that to think about this week as you sort of reading through the lecture and doing the readings. I always think that it's important to be able to take the knowledge that we acquire in the classroom or in university and apply it to the world that we're living in, right, to our lived experience. And this is one way in, I think, where this week's learning is concerned and this week's material is concerned, that, allows you a very easy um, path, through the theory to the lived world. So, given my, horrible sort of self here, like that's it for this week. I'm going to keep it short and simple. Continue to email me if you have questions. I hope you're having a really good week. Your stuff is marked, so I'm going to be getting your marks out to you shortly. Your first assignment's marked, so you could be looking for that in your email soon. Have a good weekend. I hope that the weather has improved a little bit where you are. I see that the sun is finally shining behind me, so that's all very exciting. So take it easy, and I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Well, earlier, actually, I hope, with the video for next week. Okay? Take care. See you soon.